The room is silent, but your body isn't. An alert blinks across your lock screen. Iran strikes Red Sea corridor. Oil and markets spiral. Instantly your chest tightens. Scroll finger twitches. Thoughts scatter. Before coffee even brews, you've skimmed 15 headlines, each one louder, darker, less certain. By 8 a.m., your energy feels drained, focus shredded, temper raw, and nothing bad has happened in your own living room. That reaction isn't personal failure, it's predictable neurobiology. Decades of research, from Sapolsky's work on chronic stress to Arnstein's studies on prefrontal cortex impairment, show that when the brain's threat detection circuitry, amygdala, locus coeruleus, fires continuously, it siphons resources away from the very systems you rely on for rational thought, impulse control, and long-range planning. Cognitive fatigue, emotional volatility, and decision gridlock are not character flaws. They're the physiological cost of non-stop uncertainty. Here's the punchline the self-help noise machine skips. Your nervous system can't be hacked into instant calm. It can, however, be trained over hours, days, and weeks to recover bandwidth, restore focus, and convert prolonged stress into adaptive capacity. That training is what this episode delivers. No miracle breath that resets cortisol in 90 seconds. No metaphysical jargon. Just rigorously documented methods drawn from clinical neuroscience, behavioral conditioning, and psychophysiology, trauma reactivation, and memory circuits. Why today's headlines can quietly reopen yesterday's wounds, and how evidence-based exposure titration keeps them from hijacking your mood. Dopamine-cortisol coupling, the loop that turns a single doom scroll into hours of fragmented attention, and gradual practices that decouple reward from panic. Ultradian rhythm alignment, scheduling deep work and micro-recovery around the brain's natural 90-minute cycles, improving endurance without drugs or gimmicks. Vagus-mediated regulation, clinically tested breathing cadences and physical cues that shift autonomic balance over repeated sessions, boosting heart rate variability, a measurable marker of resilience. Existential framing, how meaning-making, illustrated by Viktor Frankl's logotherapy, moves locus of control back inside your own mind, even when geopolitics remain chaotic. If you're 2050, feel exhausted by news loops but still crave clarity, agency, and sustainable focus, you're in the right place. Across 8 concise chapters, we'll trade empty hype for actionable science, practices that compound over time, the same way chronic stress once compounded against you. Take a breath, silence the next alert, and lean in. Your environment may stay volatile. Your mind doesn't have to. Together, we'll build the neurobehavioral framework to think clearly, act decisively, and stay grounded, no matter how loud the world gets. You're driving home from work, hoping traffic finally loosens, when an emergency alert slices through your podcast. Missile strike reported near Hormuz. Your heart rate spikes before the words even register. By the time the light turns green, your breathing is shallow, shoulders rigid, mind sprinting through worst-case scenarios. Nothing actually touches you, yet your body reacts as if danger is sitting beside you. This is trauma reactivation in real time, an ancient shortcut that once saved hunters from prowling predators, but now misfires inside a perpetual digital war zone. For many, neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux showed that raw sensory data can speed along a low road directly to the amygdala, launching a reflexive alarm up to 50 milliseconds before the cortex can verify accuracy. In today's media ecosystem, saturated with sirens, push alerts, and breathless commentary, that shortcut fires again and again, carving fresh fear pathways while reviving old ones stored in the hippocampus. A single breaking news banner about distant conflict can resurrect the helpless tightness you felt during a 5th-grade tornado drill, fusing yesterday's panic with today's uncertainty and amplifying the overall threat volume inside your nervous system, until every headline feels aimed at you. The result is a vicious psychophysiological loop. Intrusive memories, muscle tension, snap irritability, and the belief you're falling behind because focus keeps fracturing. Left unchecked, the loop fuels procrastination, emotional eating, late-night scrolling, behaviors that numb discomfort yet deepen self-sabotage, erode self-worth, and make tomorrow's attention even harder to muster. All while guilt whispers that people should be tougher than this. Interrupting that cycle starts with bottom-up awareness, not moralizing. First, Name the physical cue the instant it appears: jaw clamp, gut drop, or pulse surge. Peer-reviewed experiments confirm that accurate labeling recruits prefrontal networks, nudging executive control back online. Second, employ what clinicians call the polyvagal break. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts, then exhale for at least 6, letting the diaphragm descend completely. Replications of Stephen Porges' research show lengthened exhalations raise vagal tone and lower heart rate variability markers of panic within minutes, without promising instant or mystical relief. Next, anchor the breath to a grounding microtask that proves agency. Delete 3 spam emails, wipe the countertop, or set a timer for tomorrow's workout. Finishable actions deliver tangible evidence of competence, countering learned helplessness. Viewers tell me they crave one feeling above all: control over schedules, reactions, futures. This drill returns that control in bite-sized, repeatable victories their brains can trust. Finally, curate your alert diet. Disable notifications that don't involve immediate safety, and batch world news checks into one deliberate window each day. This intentional gating grants the amygdala fewer false alarms, freeing focus and emotional energy for deep work, meaningful relationships, sustainable self-development, and durable personal growth amid ongoing turbulence. You're not lazy. You don't lack discipline. But somehow you've checked your phone 47 times today, and it's not even noon. You tell yourself you'll stop after one article, one post, one reel. But then comes the next crisis update, the next thread, the next angry comment. Before you realize it, your thoughts are fractured, your energy is drained, and your sense of time has collapsed into a blur. This isn't just distraction. It's a neurochemical trap, and it's perfectly engineered to keep you stuck. Here's how it works. Every time you see a breaking headline or emotionally charged post, your brain gets 2 simultaneous signals. First, there's a dopamine spike, because something new, dramatic, and possibly important has appeared. Novelty always activates the brain's reward circuitry. But then, just milliseconds later, cortisol floods the system in response to the perceived threat. The combination wires your attention to stay locked onto the feed, hoping for clarity, resolution, or relief that never comes. This creates a dopamine-cortisol coupling, a cycle where the brain is rewarded for chasing stimulus while simultaneously being stressed by it. The longer you stay in it, the more you train your nervous system to depend on it. What began as curiosity becomes compulsion. What began as information becomes anxiety. Research from Dr. Nora Volkow at the National Institute on Drug Abuse has shown that overstimulation of the dopaminergic system leads to decreased sensitivity, meaning it takes more stimulus to feel less reward. Meanwhile, stress researcher Robert Sapolsky demonstrated that elevated cortisol over time damages the hippocampus and impairs memory, focus, and emotional regulation. So every scroll not only feels less satisfying, it also makes focus and clarity harder to access later. And here's the harshest part. It feels productive because you're staying informed, you're being aware. But awareness without containment is erosion. To reclaim your attention, the first step is interrupting the loop, not with guilt, but with structure. Block out dedicated chaos windows, 10-minute sessions where you deliberately check updates, read reports, and then shut the door. Outside those windows, remove quick access temptations, delete home screen shortcuts, grayscale your phone, or use a delay app that forces a 5-second pause before social media loads. Second, replace frictionless stimulus with friction-based reward. Read a full article instead of a headline. Write a reflection about what you read. This slows the loop and re-engages deeper brain networks associated with understanding rather than reaction. And third, schedule reward elsewhere. Watch your favorite show after you finish your project. Go for a walk after an email sprint. Delay the hit. Teach your brain that effort, not stimulus, is what precedes satisfaction. This is not dopamine detox. This is dopamine recalibration, a practical, evidence-based method to retrain your nervous system to stop chasing chaos and start choosing clarity. You sit down at your desk. The to-do list stares back. 5 emails, 2 reports, a single phone call you've been avoiding for days. You open the first tab, and instead of starting, you check the news. Again, a headline screams about drone strikes in the Middle East. Another warns of economic fallout. Your stomach tightens. You return to the report. You reread the same sentence 4 times, and somehow, nothing sticks. This isn't laziness. This isn't poor time management. This is your executive brain under siege. When the world feels volatile, the brain's threat response system takes over. Fast. Evolution wired us this way for good reason. In a life or death moment, you don't need to calculate or analyze. You need to act, run, fight, react. But in the modern world, where threat is chronic and often ambiguous, that same system becomes the enemy of clarity. Here's what's happening biologically. Under prolonged stress, cortisol floods the brain. This chemical cascade impairs function in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for higher-order tasks like decision-making, focus, impulse control, and strategic planning. Meanwhile, the amygdala, the emotional alarm center, gets louder. The result? You feel restless, reactive, distracted. You can't follow through on plans. You start things and don't finish. You forget what you just read. And worst of all, you blame yourself for it. But here's the truth. This is what a hijacked executive system looks like. It's not a failure of willpower. It's a predictable neurological response to sustained unpredictability. Clinical psychologist Amy Arnsten has spent years researching how stress impairs prefrontal functioning. Her studies show that even moderate emotional arousal causes a functional shift from reflective to reflexive brain states. That means logical reasoning gives way to reactive behaviors. So when you keep clicking headlines or can't decide what to do next, it's not because you're broken. It's because your brain is doing exactly what it's been conditioned to do under threat. Now here's how to take some of that control back. 1. Identify your fog triggers. What events or inputs tend to collapse your clarity? Global conflict, financial uncertainty, relationship strain. Awareness reduces surprise, and surprise fuels cognitive collapse. 2. Front-load decision-making. During your clearest window of the day, often mid-morning, write down your top 3 non-negotiables. Keep the list small, visible, and executable. This removes the need to think through everything once the fog rolls in. 3. Shift from multitasking to monotasking. Even simple context switching depletes working memory. Close excess tabs. Turn off non-essential notifications. Use a timer. Protect the cognitive load you still have access to. In an age of ambient crisis, the goal isn't perfect focus. It's functional focus. Enough executive clarity to act with direction even while the noise continues. That's not just a performance skill. It's mental survival. Picture Maya. She is 32 and manages projects in Seattle. At 7 a.m., she opens her laptop. Lunchboxes are still on the counter. The first iced coffee is already half gone. From 7 to 8:30, she flies. Slides polished, emails cleared, Slack jokes landing. Then the garbage truck growls outside, and the shift happens. Letters blur, fog creeps in, and without thinking, she taps open CNN for 2 minutes. 20 minutes later, she is knee-deep in drone footage, oil prices, and global conflict. Guilt lands. Coffee number 2 lands. Productivity? Vanished. That crash is not laziness. It is biology. The brain runs on ultradian rhythms, a wave of high focus followed by a low-power mode every 90 to 120 minutes. Sleep scientists first saw the pattern at night. It keeps rolling while we are awake. In the upswing, blood sugar and alert chemicals, your natural shot of norepinephrine, peak. Then the system dips. Glucose drops, attention drifts, and the brain begs for fast dopamine. TikTok, news, the break room snacks. Most of us fight the dip. We push with caffeine, self-criticism, or one more headline. The result? We burn the next wave before it starts and finish the day fried. Step 1. Find your waves. For 2 work days, set a quiet timer every 90 minutes. When it buzzes, jot a note. +1. I'm cruising. 0. Meh. 1. Brain sludge. The pattern appears fast. Maybe you peak from 8 to 9:30 and again after lunch. That is your personal tide chart. No smartwatch needed. Step 2. Ride the crest. During a +1 window, mute notifications, close spare tabs, and tackle the task future you will love. Finish a proposal. Edit a YouTube script. Study for the nursing exam. University of Michigan MRI studies show working memory is sharper during these highs, so hard work feels 30% easier. Step 3. Respect the dip. When the meter shows 0 or -1, skip the doom scroll and run an active reset. Walk the dog around the block, timer 10 minutes. Stretch by the desk while 2 songs play these 6 minutes. Close eyes, breathe in 4, out 6, 5 rounds 90 seconds. NASA found pilots who took these micro breaks kept reaction times crisp on long missions. The same trick keeps Maya sharp for her 2 o'clock budget review. Step 4. Close the loop with a small reward. After 3 full cycles, give yourself something real. A favorite cold brew, 10 sunny minutes on the porch, a quick FaceTime with your college kid. The brain learns effort, reset, payoff, replacing the old loop of effort, fatigue, doom scroll. Everyday Win software dev in Austin codes a tricky feature from 9 to 10:30, grabs tacos at 10:40, and reviews code at 11. ICU nurse in Boston charts vitals during a quiet ward peak, then takes a 5-minute stairwell stretch before the next alarm. College student in Atlanta studies organic chem for 90 minutes, tosses a frisbee for 15, then returns ready for problem sets. No one hacked a brain. They simply stopped arguing with the rhythm. Honor the downswing, and the next upswing arrives stronger, like catching the next set of waves instead of paddling in circles. Tomorrow, instead of cursing the mid-morning slump, track it, surf it, protect it. You will finish work earlier, feel less wrecked, and still have fuel for what matters. Dinner talk, hobby time, or a quiet evening with the phone face down and the mind truly yours again. You're not anxious because your thoughts are out of control. You're anxious because your body is broadcasting a threat signal, and your brain is listening. Take Marcus, a 41-year-old school counselor in Ohio. His day starts with a gentle routine: shower, oatmeal, coffee. But the moment he opens his inbox and sees 5 urgent parent emails, his chest tightens, heart pounds, palms get clammy. He hasn't even responded yet, but his nervous system is already in full fight or flight mode. By 9 a.m., he feels emotionally drained, and the day hasn't even started. This is the gap most people miss. Regulation doesn't begin in the brain, it begins in the body. Your autonomic nervous system has 2 main branches: the sympathetic system, which triggers stress responses, and the parasympathetic system, which restores calm. The key player here is the vagus nerve, a thick neural pathway running from the brainstem to the chest and abdomen. When it's activated, it signals safety, slows your heart, and reduces inflammation. It's like a biological brake pedal. And here's the best part: you can stimulate it intentionally. Step 1. Slow, diaphragmatic breathing. Not just deep breathing, but specific, controlled patterns. Try this. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 to 8 seconds. Do this for 2 minutes, especially after a spike in stress. Studies on heart rate variability, HRV, a key measure of vagal tone, show this breathing pattern boosts parasympathetic activity and restores a sense of internal control. Marcus now does this in his parked car before stepping into the school each morning. He says it doesn't just calm him, it clears his thoughts. Step 2. Cold facial exposure. Cold stimulates the vagus reflex. That's why swimmers often feel calm after plunging into water. Try splashing your face with cold water for 10-15 seconds, or press a cool pack gently against your cheeks and eyes. If you work from home, keep a small bowl of cold water and dip your face briefly. It's a fast, physical intervention that shifts your internal state. No screen, no thinking, just biology. Step 3. Vocal toning and humming. The vagus nerve also runs through the throat and vocal cords. That's why slow humming, chanting, or even singing in a low tone can have a calming effect. You don't need to perform. Just sit quietly and hum in your chest register for a minute. This practice increases vibrational input to the vagus nerve and has shown promise in small-scale clinical trials for anxiety reduction. Marcus does this while prepping coffee at home. Quiet, simple, and strangely grounding. Step 4. Grounding micro-movements. Slow, rhythmic movements can reinforce the feeling of physical safety. Try swapping your office chair for a rocking stool for part of the day, doing slow ankle rolls under your desk while answering emails, placing both feet flat on the floor and gently pressing down for 30 seconds. These small inputs activate proprioceptive feedback, telling the brain, I am here, I am grounded, I am safe. The shift, from top down to bottom up. Most people try to fix stress with thoughts, mantras, logic, reframing, but when your body is still in survival mode, your brain won't listen. Start by calming the system first. Then clarity follows. Focus returns. You stop snapping at your partner. You start hearing your own thoughts again. This is why modern resilience isn't about thinking harder. It's about listening to the body and responding with small, repeatable acts of regulation every day before the overwhelm builds. You don't need to conquer the world before 10 a.m. Just breathe, hum, chill your face, move slow, ground your feet. Let the body signal safety, and the mind will follow. Chaos doesn't hit everyone the same way, but it always presents the same choice: recoil or rewire. Look at 3 Americans living on different fault lines. Tech layoff veteran in Austin. 2 weeks after his pink slip, Riley breaks tasks into micro-wins. 1 coding exercise, 1 targeted application, mirroring stress inoculation drills used by Army Special Forces. Each micro-win is reviewed nightly in a 3-line journal. Stressor, response, skill reinforced. MRI studies, Stanford 2024, show this rapid, specific reflection strengthens prefrontal amygdala connectivity, the circuitry for composure under fire. ER nurse in Miami. Valentina faces overdose spikes and hurricane alerts in the same shift. Her hospital adopted Meichenbaum's inoculation briefing. Before triage, nurses identify 1 controllable skill, e.g., maintain steady vocal tone when families panic. After shift, they debrief for 3 minutes. HRV data collected by the University of Florida found staff using this protocol regained parasympathetic balance 40% faster than peers who simply vented. Single dad in Minneapolis. Marcus juggles a remote sales role and an autistic son. Each Sunday he runs a capacity audit, ranking upcoming stressors from 1 to 5 on controllability. Scores of 4 to 5 trigger proactive scripts. Call the pediatrician. Preload meals. Schedule a 15-minute breathing walk between Zoom blocks. Scores of 1-2 signal accept and adapt mode. Label emotions. Pair with a grounding exercise. Cognitive behavioral trials. Northwestern 2023 show that explicit classification of stressors halves rumination time within 8 weeks. Why this works? 1. Targeted exposure widens the stress window. Instead of generic grit, each person rehearses 1 demand at a time. Neuroendocrine research confirms that manageable spikes in cortisol, followed by mastery, teach the hippocampus to tag threat memories with solved, shrinking future fear response. 2. Structured meaning rewrites the narrative loop. Tedeschi and Calhoun's post-traumatic growth model isn't about naive optimism. It's about embedding stress in a coherent story. Riley's 3-line journal, Valentina's mini debrief, and Marcus's audit all convert raw stress into a data point inside a living storyline. I met X, responded with Y. Therefore, I'm the kind of person who can handle Z. 3. Body confirmation seals brain learning. After each cognitive exercise, they anchor with a bottom-up cue. Slow breath, brief walk, shoulder release, sending the vagus nerve signal, lesson absorbed, danger past. Without that signal, the amygdala keeps the file open and the lesson doesn't stick. Put it into play A. Name the arena. Tonight, list the week's top 3 predictable stressors. Don't rank by fear. Rank by frequency. Common beats catastrophic for training effect. B. Choose a micro skill. For each stressor, pick 1 behavior to test in the next encounter. Steady tone, 5-second pause before reply, 4 to 6 breath cycle while reading market headlines. C. Run the after-action loop. End of day, capture in 2 sentences. Stressor, response, 1 thing to iterate. No paragraphs. Brevity keeps the ritual sustainable. D. Tag with a physical seal. 10 slow exhales, cold water on the face, or a 90-second walk. This locks the cognitive file as closed. Lesson stored. Do this 5 days straight, then reread day 1 notes. Most people notice subtler wins, quicker mental recovery, lower verbal snap, sharper recall. Those are structural brain changes, not mood swings. The takeaway: disaster headlines won't pause for your peace. Bills, storms, policy shifts, they keep coming. But capacity is cumulative. Every deliberate rep carves new neural pathways for clarity, restraint, and strategic action. You're not asked to love the chaos. You're asked to lift it like weight on a bar. Then rack it, breathe, and step away stronger than before. That isn't motivational fluff. It's measurable neuroplasticity in real time, proven from trauma clinics to triage rooms. Next chapter, we'll protect that new capacity by managing finite cognitive energy, so gains made under pressure don't leak away in digital noise. You know that moment when your phone drops from 100% to 72% before breakfast? That's exactly what happens to your brain each morning, only you can't plug it into a wall at lunch. 1. The invisible drain meets Sam, 34. Sales ops in Dallas. By 7 a.m., he's answered Slack pings that popped up at 11 p.m., skimmed overnight headlines about new sanctions on Iran, and compared himself to that guy from college who just posted a Tesla delivery selfie. He hasn't done anything real yet, but his mental battery is already sitting at 70% and dropping fast. Psychologists Roy Baumeister, ego depletion studies, and Senthil Mullainathan, scarcity research, agree on one thing. Attention and executive control are finite. Every micro-decision, check, swipe, react, costs voltage. Let it bleed unchecked, and by afternoon you'll stare at the screen like a goldfish, unable to start the simplest task. 2. Bandwidth. Time. Sam tried working longer hours, but time doesn't equal bandwidth. Think of Wi-Fi. Add devices, the speed tanks. Same with your mind. The goal isn't finding more hours, it's releasing unused tabs that hoard the signal. The 3-step shield. Step A. Morning firewall. Cost 5 minutes. Action. Before you touch a screen, list today's top 2 mission-critical tasks on paper. Circle the one that moves income, career, or relationships forward. Tape it beside your laptop. Why it works. Writing singles out the action that deserves prime battery. Stanford imaging studies show written intention lights up the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the area for follow-through, more than silent goals. Step B. 90-minute oxygen zone. Cost, calendar block. Action. Carve a 90-minute meeting called Oxygen. No email, no WhatsApp, no news. Work the circled task, nothing else. When intrusive thoughts appear, jot them on a sticky note and return to the task. Real life. Sam schedules his oxygen zone 9:30 a.m., the window when his apartment is quiet and caffeine is peaking. One focus block finishes the report that used to sprawl across 2 drained afternoons. Data. A Harvard field study found batching communication 3 times a day cut stress by 25% and boosted productivity 15%. Shielding one deep work block does even more, because it preserves quality battery for decisions that count. Step C. White space reboot. Cost 10 minutes twice daily. Action. Midday and late afternoon. Step outside or stand at a window. No phone. Gaze at something 50 feet away. Inhale 4 counts. Exhale 6 counts. 10 cycles. Why it works. Vision reset plus slow exhale signals the vagus nerve to shift into parasympathetic gear, restoring heart rate variability, an objective marker of mental freshness. Huberman Lab, 2023. Result, Sam's 2 p.m. Slump, formerly solved with sugar and tweets, now clears after a single white space reboot, leaving gasoline for family dinner prep and evening coursework. Plug the silent leaks default settings. Disable non-human push notifications. Markets, sports, sales. News can wait for a scheduled slot. One-click menus. Pre-plan lunches and clothes, Sunday night. Autopilot crumbs save 5 to 10 decisions every weekday. Roughly 10% battery. Batch empathy. Group non-urgent social replies into one 15-minute window at day's end. Friends still feel heard. You stop context switching 40 times. Well, why you'll keep doing it. 1. Immediate payoff. Day 1. You finish a heavy task before noon and feel the relief viscerally. 2. Visible evidence. Paper checklist with one fat check mark. Dopamine that scrolling can't match. 3. Social proof. Tell one coworker you're testing oxygen blocks. Accountability locks the habit faster than sheer will. The big picture. You can't stretch a phone battery by yelling at it, and you can't stretch your mind by shaming it. But you can stop the background apps, charge only what matters, and cruise through the day with power to spare. Tomorrow morning, give yourself 5 minutes. Write 2 tasks. Circle 1. Guard your 90-minute oxygen zone like your next promotion depends on it. Because frankly, it might. Keep 10 minutes of white space for the reboot. Guard your mind, and the mind will guard everything else. Your craft, your income, your people. Picture Jordan, a 30-year-old paramedic in Detroit. After back-to-back overdose calls, he parks the ambulance beneath a flickering streetlight and wonders if anything he does matters. At that moment, the world feels like a machine he can't influence. That feeling, total external control, accelerates burnout faster than any 12-hour shift. Psychiatrist Viktor Frankl faced a far darker version inside Nazi camps. He noticed that prisoners who located the faintest sliver of purpose, a child to reunite with, a manuscript to rewrite, outlived those who saw only randomness. Frankl called that inner stance the last freedom, choosing our attitude toward circumstances we cannot change. Modern studies back him up. Research from Indiana University shows that employees with a strong internal locus of control exhibit lower cortisol and higher problem-solving scores during simulated crisis drills. The brain literally processes stress differently when it believes agency is possible. How do you install that shield in daily American chaos? 1. Craft a micro-mission. Jordan now writes a single sentence on a glove before each shift. Tonight I reduce suffering by 1%. The target is small, measurable, unquestionably his. 2. Name the why out loud. Commuters in a Stanford experiment who verbalized why their job mattered saw a 23% bump in persistence on tedious tasks. Say it in the car, whisper it in the elevator. Hearing activates self-referential networks that embed belief. 3. Log the proof. Before sleep, list one moment you acted on purpose. Calmed a panicked relative, finished a neglected workout, turned off news after 10 minutes. Each entry is evidence that the steering wheel isn't only out there, meaning doesn't erase war headlines or company layoffs. It threads you through them. Frankl survived by anchoring identity to purpose, not circumstances. You can't script the planet, but you can script your response. And that script rewires the brain to see challenge as terrain, not fate. Start tonight. Grab a note card, write your micro-mission, tape it above your phone charger. Tomorrow, when the chaos pings, that card reminds you who decides. Every single time, really. You've made it through, not just to the end of a video, but through 8 layers of noise, chaos, and exhaustion that most people never pause long enough to name. Now you see what was never random. Your fatigue had a pattern. Your focus had a rhythm. Your reactions had a circuit. And your sense of power? It was never lost, just buried beneath the overload. This isn't about becoming unshakable. It's about becoming aware enough to notice when your system gets hijacked and skilled enough to bring it back online. Your brain wasn't built for 24/7 crisis, but it can adapt. You've learned how to recognize trauma patterns before they silently run your day, to disconnect from the dopamine cortisol loop that keeps you stuck in false urgency, to surf your mental energy instead of grinding it into the ground, to anchor your body into safety before your mind spins out, to turn stress into capacity, not through force, but through framing, to protect your attention like it's oxygen, and to reclaim the narrative, one meaningful act at a time, because the world won't slow down. But you don't have to spin with it. The more you understand your nervous system, the less you're ruled by it. The more you choose your inputs, your cycles, your actions, the more you remember. You're not just surviving the chaos, you're learning to direct it. So here's your closing ritual. Pause, breathe, look at the last hour of your day and ask, what's one thing I can control that protects the person I'm becoming? Leave your answer in the comments. Share your micro-mission. Not because we need likes, but because someone else scrolling through their worst day might see your clarity and borrow it for a moment. That's how we pass it on. If this hit home, subscribe. This space is for the ones who feel too much, think too deeply, and refuse to numb out. We're not here to stay positive. We're here to stay awake, even in the fire, especially then.